Yeah, I mean, wrestling's pretty cool and all that. That's what we do. We're wrestlers. But I mean, I think we know who would be the better wrestler. You know what I'm saying?
I don't see how you would come to that conclusion. It doesn't seem that obvious to me. Actually, it does. But I mean, I've been in this business for over 5 years now.
Oh, really? I'm actually coming up on 5 years right now. So I don't see how you make your point.
Well, for whatever that's worth, in those 5 years, I'm a former Pacific middleweight champion.
Oh, really? Oh, former champion? Well, you're actually talking to the current longest reigning, most defending, and youngest ever Big Valley Wrestling fighting champion.
I can tell you're really proud of that. It's just because you haven't felt that bitter sting of defeat yet. I myself am a former 2-time 3-2-1 battle solid steel champion.
Oh, yeah, that's cool, but you keep talking about more former stuff, but you're not in the now, of course.
I can only talk about former stuff because I got years on you, kid.
Oh, years on me, okay. That's well, maybe we can, settle that sometime, in the ring. But, yeah. I mean, speaking of the ring, to be in the ring, you gotta have the right body. I mean, I don't think you know what it's like to have these massive biceps.
Oh, I have my own burden to bear as well. I can do, all of the push-ups.
Oh, yeah? All the put-ups? What about sit-ups, huh?
Oh, I can do plenty of sit-ups. Can you see this? I've got a 6-pack.
Oh, yeah? Well, I've got a 7-pack.
Ricky, I don't think that's right.
Tenacious Time Podcast. It's Tenacious Time Podcast. Oh, grab your friends if you have any and come and have a great time with your host, Ricky Tenacious.
Hello, hi, how are you, and welcome to another episode of the Tenacious Time Podcast. I'm your hostess with the mostest, the longest reigning, most defending, youngest ever Big Valley Wrestling fighting champion. I think I'm at 230 something days. I didn't really keep track of the count, but it's in the 230 area. I'll have that's still pretty impressive. Just like how it's impressive that it actually lasted this long doing this podcast thing. So once again, as I like to point out every episode, thank you very much if you're listening. Thank you very much for tuning in to all of these episodes if you've followed me since day one. So there's been a lot going on in my life, mainly for starters. I just started school again. I'm really excited about this semester. I have some really cool classes. I'm only about 2 semesters away from getting my associates in theater and secondary education. Whoop whoop. Big thing for me. And also, school is bringing up a lot more opportunities to get back into performing, both with theater and dance, as I'm taking a dance class, dance performance, which will lead to an actual performance of dancing. And then I'm taking a theater class, and with that, presented the opportunity to audition earlier this week for 2 musicals being offered at CSN. One was The Last 5 Years, and the other is We're Here For You, the community college musical. I auditioned for those earlier this week, and unfortunately, I was told I got a call back, but and then I got an email saying it was more so I was just considered for it, and I didn't really get invited back for a callback. So that was very disappointing and kind of broke my heart. But I mean, just like in the wrestling business, everything can change, in the snap of a finger. So I really wasn't that disappointed, but I mean, I definitely wanted to get back into theater as much as I could. But enough with that. Let's get into something more relevant. Here in Las Vegas, Nevada, this weekend, I think throughout this week, is the AVN convention, which is the convention dealing with adult entertainment. I'm sure most of you who listen have delved into that at times that you want and may not have wanted. But speaking of that, the AVN convention has presented the opportunity to do a podcast with someone whom I've been speaking with over Facebook for a few months now. He's a good friend of another friend I've had for a few years on Facebook named Ellie Sonson, who works in the adult entertainment industry. So without further ado, let's get into who my guest is. He is a fellow professional wrestler for a promotion in Washington, a very well-known promotion called 3-2-1 Battle. He is the Muscle Confucius, the Human Sit-Up. He is one half of the tag team, the Free Radicals. He is a former 3-2-1 Battle Solid Steel champion. He is Taylor Taylor Johnson, but you may know him better as Mr. Fitness. Taylor, welcome to the show.
Ricky, I'm so sorry if I kept you waiting. You gave me the address to the studio. I did not take the bait when I saw the training center that you had installed, but I got distracted by the juice bar. So I'm sorry it took me a while to walk the grounds to get here, but thank you so much for having me finally. I hope it'll be worth the wait.
Oh, definitely. This is just the start. And please tell me, when you walked in, there's no way you could not have noticed the Orange Julius next to the Starbucks as well.
I'll put it this way. When I walked inside your studio, it's so spacious, I couldn't tell whether or not I'd actually walked outside. You can't see the ceiling. You can't see the far wall.
You can't.
It just goes for miles.
Yeah. A lot of people doubt that, the talks of this luxurious studio is actually true. And it is, people. These are facts. Okay? I 18 episodes in, and every guest, including myself at some times, okay? Luxurious studio.
I feel that anyone that might doubt the qualifications of your studio, they're probably living in it and don't even realize it.
There is someone who's doing that. His name's Owen Travers. He's been here for I think 8 weeks now, ever since he did that podcast with me. He has been able to leave. And the thing is, I'm not even sure if he's doing it on purpose. I feel like anyone who's been here would stay here on purpose. But this place is so big that sometimes you can get lost here. You don't even know where the exit is. Just a few weeks ago, I got lost in my own studio. The only way I could find my way back to the podcast center was a directory that I didn't even know was installed into my studio. I just found it out of nowhere.
Well, you might want to clear those trespassers out before you start to get a shanty town on your hands. Yeah. Because once it's in, it's hard to get rid of.
Yeah, that's what she said. Anyway, I know you through Ellie Sonson, who is I believe she's a talent agent for an adult entertainment company.
Yeah, she does recruiting for a webcam modeling company.
Yeah. I forgot how she even contacted me. I'm not trying to make this podcast about her, but I'm just trying to get into some backstory between us.
She actually reached out to you on my behalf because we were coming out here not too long ago.
Yeah.
And she was doing a little bit of research just on promotions that run locally just to help keep me occupied while I'm here.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, I remember she contacted me about that. Or she messaged the BVW page, and I thought, for a second, I thought she was a wrestler. And I was like, holy shit. This girl's fantastic looking. We got to have her on our show. She goes, yeah, I'm actually talking about my husband. Oh, well, that's fine too.
Right.
But yeah, but I think she could definitely make it in this industry if she wanted to pursue it. But like I said, I knew her, and then we had talked about when she would come into town that we try to help you out with try to get you into Big Valley Wrestling.
Yeah.
Obviously, this week, not many shows are. I don't think there's any shows this week presented for an opportunity. But I mean, when there isn't, a show and you don't think there's many lemons left, we take the lemons that are left and we make lemonade, which is why you're here for this podcast.
Oh, this is great.
Yeah. So, is this your? How many times have you been in Vegas now?
I've been here probably 8 times in my life.
Oh yeah.
I've been out here 3 times in the last year, just traveling with Elle.
Yeah.
For business.
Okay.
But this is my second time here for the AVNs.
Okay.
And it's great.
How was that experience being at the AVNs?
It's a big, huge circus,
oh, yeah.
And what I'm realizing is that people in the adult industry and people in wrestling, there's not a whole lot of difference because there's still a public persona, there's still a gimmick you're trying to sell.
Oh yeah.
Everyone is still a fierce self-promoter.
Yeah.
The 8x10s and t-shirts at a little folding table is very familiar to me. Okay, the wearing fanny packs not just for a fashion statement is very familiar to me.
The job being very physical. That's kind of ties into wrestling as well.
It's the illusion of sex or the illusion of violence.
Oh, yep.
That's one or the other.
Yep,
right?
sometimes both.
So I can definitely respect the work that goes into that industry, game recognized game.
Yeah.
And it's been lovely.
Yeah. How old do you have to be to go to that?
21.
21? Oh. Just a few more years for me. I'm only 19 now. I'll get there. I'll get there.
With hard work.
Yeah, you kind of smell like an avian convention, so I'll try to remember that.
I think that just might be the sense you're pumping into this wing of the
Yes,
studio.
yeah, we have
It's
an
the
array
aromatherapy.
of selections. We have pumpkin spice. We have Snickers dipped in hot chocolate.
Yes.
We also have marshmallows topped with fondue.
Okay.
Yes, we also have some soda fragrances, and if you're wondering how we make all of those, there is a little workshop under the studio. That,
Okay. You've got a chem lab down there.
Yeah, we can call it that. Some Breaking Bad like stuff. But before we get into our questions, it is a pretty rainy day outside the Tenacious Time studio. So how are you liking this weather? From what I've heard about Washington, it's usually the weather's usually like this. Is that true or?
It is, yeah. We have a lot of we don't have a lot of big rain, but we have lots of drizzly days. So we get we don't get a huge amount of rainfall by inches, but it's spread out throughout so much of the year. You have lots of gray days where it's just kind of aggressively misting, not really raining.
Aggressively misting?
Right now, this is raining.
Yeah.
This is that legendary cold, wet Vegas winter I've heard so many legends of, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy how there's never been a day that I can recall in Vegas, because I've lived for all my life pretty much, where it's either it's really hot or it's pouring rain.
Yeah.
It's never been a time where it's just right.
Right.
I really dream of the day when it's going to be just right. So, but enough of that hibber jabber and getting to know each other. Let's get to the questions. As we said, you are a wrestler, professional wrestler, just like myself. You wrestle for 3-2-1 Battle, based out of Seattle, Washington. I've heard very good things about them.
Thank you for remembering all the good things I've told you about them.
Yes, definitely a promotion. I'd love to bring the Tenacious Time. What's the word I'm looking for here? Tenacious Time. Definitely a promotion I'd love to bring the Tenacious Time brand to one day. And we were just talking about it earlier, how that promotion got its name. I recently took the seminar with Bob Evans, and he was talking about, you want to know why it's called 3-2-1 Battle? Because they didn't have a bell, and so the announcer just went 3, 2, 1, battle, and it stuck.
It seemed the best solution to the problem we had that day, which was our ring bell had disappeared sometime over. We did 2 shows over a weekend, and then packed everything else up packed it all up for 2 weeks, and then opened it back up, and there was nothing there.
Oh.
And this was 15 minutes to bell, something like that. We pulled out those gimmicks, and there was nothing there. So our announcers at the time, bless their hearts, they came up with a solution that gave us a brand identity from there on out.
Yeah, definitely. So it's safe to assume you were there for that?
I was there for that. Yeah, before it was called 3-2-1 Battle, it has its roots in a group called Seattle Semi-Pro Wrestling.
Okay.
And most of the time we weren't even wrestling in a ring. We'd work on stage or other more imaginative settings. Also, rings are heavy and expensive to transport.
Awesome.
So. But yeah, I've been with them since day one. It's been about 3 years since we rebranded as that, and it's going. I think it's going really strong right now. We're bringing in some really, really top tier talent from around the country, and we're getting a lot of good attention on the product as well. So I think it's going really, really, really well.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. So yeah, let's get into kind of the roots of Mr. Fitness. So first and foremost, how did you get into this crazy business called professional wrestling?
I was a wrestling fan when I was a little kid, just like most of us were.
Yep, definitely.
And then there comes a point where you kind of branch off from it. And, I think I stopped paying attention when I was around 8 or 9 and didn't really pay it too much attention until around when I turned 21. A lot of my friends were going to watch Monday Night Raw at a bar not too far from downtown Seattle called Shorty's. And they would get the East Coast feed, so you'd go in there at 6 p.m. and get like a pitcher of beer and a hot dog and watch wrestling with your friends, and it's a great social thing. And that was I was in 2001, and between 2001 2003 I got like a good little core group of guys that really became like really big WWE marks.
Yeah.
And leading into WrestleMania 19, which was in Seattle, there was a few other people that we were familiar with that were booking a warehouse party.
at times. Trying to do a goddamn podcast. Tenacious Time Studios, how may I help you? Hello? Hello? Alright, never mind. Alright, so as you were saying.
Yeah, there were a few people booking a warehouse party down in South Seattle, and they installed a cage, and they were bringing in DJs, and it was basically a big pro wrestling themed rave.
Ooh.
Okay. I'd already gotten some training a little bit before that from my friend who was going by the name Dirty Dave Murphy.
Okay.
And he trained with a gentleman named Awesome Adam and
Yeah.
with a guy named Cedric the Hitman up in the Northwest. So I had a little bit of training under my belt that I did absolutely nothing with until my friends and I realized that we wanted to book our own match. So we started to train again in earnest, and we had a lot of fun at this warehouse party. And from then on, we had some connections in the Seattle burlesque community as well. So we started to do intermission matches halfway through burlesque shows.
Okay.
The demand for it kind of kept growing to where we were doing a wrestling show with a couple of burlesque dancers and a live band at the end. But then as time went on, we realized we could just keep stripping these extra acts out, and just what we did is we accidentally invented an indie wrestling show.
Yeah. Huh. That's awesome, man. That's really cool.
Oh yeah, okay, so that's a really interesting base to start your wrestling. I mean, of course, I understand everyone loves wrestling at one point and then they get into it, but that's a really cool start. How it was warehouse and then it was a burlesque show, but it started having wrestling in it and stuff like that. That's a really cool concept, and I think that's a really cool way to get into the business. I mean, wrestling is still a form of entertainment and show business, and if that's how it works, then that's how it works. You can just kind of be glad that you were there.
Yeah, exactly. It maybe took a little bit longer than other people's, what other people have gone through, but you can't argue with what works.
Yeah. So, being you got into the business the way you did, we all know, or at least me and you know, or any wrestler knows, or anyone that's gone through some form of wrestling training, becoming a professional wrestler is not the easiest thing to do. It takes a huge toll on your body. You're learning, you're always learning every day in the business. So, tell us, what were some obstacles, if any, that you had when training to be a wrestler, and some obstacles that you still have now?
I think the biggest obstacle when I was first getting started as a wrestler, was my location in the country. The Pacific Northwest hasn't really had that strong of a presence in professional wrestling for a long time, since maybe like Don Owen and Portland Wrestling, which was, that started to wrap up in the mid '80s.
Yeah,
and there wasn't really a strong regional presence, and a lot of that has to do with Washington state law. It's prohibitively expensive to run an above board for-profit professional wrestling show in the state of Washington, which is why most of the shows that are running out of that state right now, they're either going to be running on reservation land and are thus exempt from any sort of like state Department of Licensing regulation, or you just don't charge a cover, which is a simple solution that adds other obstacles to the mix, like in terms of keeping the lights on and stuff. But if you're running it just as a free show with a suggested donation, you can recoup some of your losses. But that's definitely the biggest obstacle now.
Okay. So professional wrestling, thank God we have independent wrestling, which has given many people the opportunity to make their dream become a reality. Maybe not on the stage that they imagined it would be, like on WWE, which is still very possible, but I mean, not the easiest thing to accomplish at times. So I'm not sure how old you are. You don't have to say, but you've been wrestling for about 6 years now. Is wrestling something that you want to make a career, or is it really just a hobby that you really delve a lot of time into? Do you really want to go somewhere with wrestling? Would you like to be signed and become a contract wrestler one day, or is it kind of just something that you developed doing for fun?
Oh man, I think the answer lies somewhere in the middle. I've definitely been getting a lot out of wrestling as the hobby, as the weekend warrior aspect of it. And the best thing the best thing a hobby is for is getting rid of any leftover time and money that you might have in your life.
Yeah.
So in that respect, wrestling has been a great hobby. It's been a very effective hobby.
Definitely.
I would love to be able to do something more with it. I do have a career. I'm a chef, and I've been doing that for a very long time. So there's the hesitance of wanting to start over.
Yeah.
At the bottom, there's the hesitance to be poor and hungry, for a chance to do something that's statistically less likely than an NBA contract.
Yeah.
I'd like to be able to make my wrestling pay for itself.
Yeah.
That's my goal for 2017 is to break even. Is to actually break even on my licensing, on my gear, on my travel.
Yeah, that's definitely something I definitely would love to do. 2017. I'm really not sure. The thing is, I don't want to make this about me, but just going off that topic of trying to make things work when you're a wrestler, or you're living that kind of lifestyle. I go to school during the week. I have prior commitments that are going to interfere in the weekend, such as I'm just now, tomorrow actually, I'm starting to volunteer, for a high school improv competition because I love being a part of theater.
Oh, great.
Yeah, and I was a part of it in high school as well. So that's going to take about 7 weeks on Saturdays, which means I'm not going to be wrestling on Saturdays, which is like the ideal, time to wrestle or get a booking. But I'm still, the best part is, for me, I'm only 19. I'm very young. I still have a long ways to go. I can recover like a wild tiger. I don't really have to worry about, time running out or anything like that.
Sure.
But one of my goals I've had for a while now is to try to wrestle every weekend. Try to, really stop playing wrestler and start being wrestler. Getting the gimmicks, selling them at each show, making some money.
Yeah.
Because sometimes the pay we get isn't it's pay, but it doesn't really cover a lot of the expenses, especially gas.
Absolutely.
And then of course just the general personal hardships of missing time with friends, family to do wrestling. To dress up in tights and wrestle with someone who's doing the same thing.
Right.
So there's it's a hard knock life for us.
Yeah, but the class that you're taking time off to do is going to help. You're going to be able to take what you learn in the improv and apply it to your wrestling.
Oh yeah, I've been doing that for years.
Yeah, so and also wrestling and vice versa.
Yeah.
So don't think of it as I can't do this because I want to do this. Think of how can I take this and apply it everywhere else in my life.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and we all know, first and foremost, professional wrestling is not the most reliable career choice, as we pretty much insinuated here.
I'm pretty sure that you're right about that.
Yeah, and my dad always tells me education comes first. You got to get that degree, got to have something to fall back on.
Yeah.
So worry about that now. The wrestling will always be here. With how popular it is, it's always going to be here. So It's not like you're going to wake up tomorrow and all of a sudden, yep, wrestling's illegal. Donald Trump has made professional wrestling illegal, which would be that's something I would riot about. That's something I would protest about hard.
Okay.
Yeah. But so enough about that little political stance there. But
just the hypocrisy.
Yeah.
Of the WWE Hall of Famer saying that.
Yeah. So you just mentioned you were a chef. I was actually going to ask you, when you aren't wrestling, what are you doing with life? So maybe if you'd like to shed some light on your chef career and maybe some other personal life things that you involve when you aren't wrestling, go ahead.
I've been okay. So to answer a few questions ago, I'm 36. I've been cooking professionally for over 20 years.
Yeah.
That's my full-time job. I'm fortunate right now. I work for a company that gives me a little bit of flexibility in my schedule.
Yeah.
Part of that is because I help write the schedule.
Okay.
I've got I'm a mobile food chef, so I've got 3 food trucks. I've got 1 mobile dessert concept. I've got a couple of mobile bars and beverage concepts.
Yeah.
And I run the culinary program for that whole fleet.
Ooh.
So it's a lot more on the back end planning, budgeting, costing, recipe development. That's more than a full-time job.
Yeah.
But it does mean it's a lot of bringing my rolly case and my duffel bag to work at 5 in the morning because there's not going to be time to go back home before I go make my show in Seattle or get on a ferry to go across the sound to do another booking or something.
Yeah. Yeah, awesome. So before we get into some of our spicy, sweet segments of the show, another question for you. Another kind of goes back to your wrestling roots. How did you come up with the character Mr. Fitness?
So the character Mr. Fitness is basically everything that I hated about high school.
Okay.
Because I was a bit of a bat caver in high school, a bit of a goth boy.
Yeah.
And the team spirit and the frat boy jock mentality was just so repellent to me that when I was planning my gimmick, like if I'm gonna be a convincing heel, I need to convince myself, right? First and foremost.
Yeah.
And the first thing that came to mind was just some varsity jacket wearing jock jerk that can maybe back it up, but is just so full of himself about it.
Yeah.
And so that's really where it comes from. And I wear a lot of green. That was one of my high school colors, because even that was just the idea of wearing your team colors on Friday, as a very fiercely individualistic 9 Inch Nails goth boy. It stood for everything I hated.
Okay.
And it's worked for me thus far. Yeah. I've been slowly digging more and more into it, and now green's my favorite color.
All right.
I've come full circle now.
Yeah, it's bleeding into your life.
It has, yeah.
Yeah. So it's time for some awesome, sweet segments. This is going to start things off with not really much of a segment, just something I came up with off the top of my head. I like to kind of put people on the spot with things. This is one of those deals. I have a series of questions I'm going to ask you that are just yes or no questions, or either just require a one-word answer. So here's that. Here we go. Favorite color?
Green.
Favorite band?
Slim Simpson's Auto Club.
Favorite wrestler?
Mr. Perfect Kurt Hennig.
Favorite holiday of the year?
Thanksgiving.
What's your birthday?
11/15.
Boxers or briefs?
Bikini.
Paper or plastic?
Paper.
Republican or Democrat?
Pass.
Have you ever cheated on a test in school?
Yes.
Did you ever throw a party when your parents were out of town?
No.
Favorite movie?
Blues Brothers.
Favorite actor?
Roddy Piper.
If you had a porn star name, what would it be?
Chester Flexagon.
Have you ever put your penis in a slinky?
No.
All right, that's all the questions.
Wow.
Congratulations.
Did I win?
Yeah. You win a hot dog and a handshake.
All right.
Yeah.
Perfect.
All right, that went a lot better than I thought it would. So thanks for participating in that. So now back to our regularly scheduled programming, ladies and gentlemen. It is now time for another edition of the 60-second challenge. This is not really much of a challenge. You just have 60 seconds to complete whatever I tell you I want you to complete. For those of you who maybe are first-time listeners, or first time on the show, like yourself, Mr. Fitness, you will have 60 seconds to the best of your knowledge, answer a question. There's not really much of a prize. It's just more to see how many of blank you can list. It's a listing contest,
okay,
more or less.
Okay.
Pretty much everyone who's played this either finds a way to cheat, or they have some type of card up their sleeve. I think the only one who's really done it like without any prior knowledge or any cheating was Chris Bay, and that was naming as many cereals as he could. So for this one, today's topic is name as many women wrestlers as you can in 60 seconds. They can be from WWE, TNA, WCPW, all over the world, as long as they're a woman wrestler.
Okay.
All right, so 60 seconds on the clock, Mr. Fitness, and go.
Okay, I'm going to go with Trish Stratus.
Okay.
Lita.
Yep.
Ivory.
Yep.
Victoria. That was the Fatal 4-Way from WrestleMania 19.
Okay.
Fabulous Moolah. Mae Young. Casey Carlisle, who's my tag team partner last summer. Angelina Love.
Okay.
She gave me feedback last week at a show.
Heyo.
Shout out to her. Thank you. Famous woman wrestlers. How much time?
30 seconds. It doesn't have to be famous. It can just be a woman wrestler.
Okay. Let's see. Gail Kim.
Okay. 20 seconds.
Okay. Awesome Kong.
Okay. Met her once. 10
Okay.
seconds.
Andy Kaufman wrestled women. Joey Ryan wrestled. They're women wrestlers because they
Sure.
wrestled women.
That'll work.
All right. Okay, that's 12.
All right. That's
Yes.
it. There you go. 12. All right. Okay.
You didn't say they had to be female.
Yeah, it just had to be women wrestlers.
Okay.
Yeah. That was cool. So yeah, if I could, before we get to this next little segment here, Angelina Love gave you feedback on a match. Tell us about that.
I did a show called Defy Pro. They had their first show 1 week ago, actually.
Okay.
And it was out of this world. It was headlined by Shane Strickland, who wrestles in Lucha Underground as Killshot, and he was wrestling Cody Rhodes for the Global Force Next Gen Championship.
Okay.
That was the main event. I was in the second match against my BFF Eddie Van Glam, who's like a rocker burlesque gimmick.
Okay.
But we had a run-in, and it was the mystery run-in was Eddie Edwards.
Okay.
From TNA.
Yeah. Impact Wrestling.
Impact Wrestling. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm a little behind the times.
Yeah, that's okay.
But it was in a beautiful room. It was in this historic theater in central Seattle, and we sold out about 500 covers.
Oh, cool.
Beautiful, like jet black green canvas. It was just aesthetically just a gorgeous room. It was lit, so there may as well have been 5,000 people in there. But the most nerve-wracking thing was seeing amongst my peers in like Northwest Professional Wrestling.
Yeah.
There's Mr. Athletic Jeff Cobb.
Oh, he was there?
Yeah.
Oh man, he's amazing.
Yeah, he was on. He was in the fourth or fifth match tonight against one of our local boys, Big Jack Cunningham,
for sure.
But just seeing those guys, seeing Edwards, seeing Angelina Love, because Edwards was the mystery run-in, who made a save right up before intermission, and I realized that I was more worried about the 6 people watching the TV in the back, than the 500 watching live.
Yep,
because those are easy. That's just when it's that many people, it just becomes one mass. But yeah, I was nervous about that, but we went and had our match. We had like 5 to 7 minutes or something like that in the second match of the night. Oh, we had to follow Matt Cross. Who is also known as Son of Havoc in Lucha Underground.
Wonderful.
Yes. Yeah. So we came back, and she actually, after my opponent and I, thanked each other and shook hands and hugged and all, call them bro jobs. She came over and she gave us feedback, and she gave me a ton of feedback on how to really work my character.
Yeah.
And yeah, and she didn't have to do that. She didn't do it with everybody. I took it to heart. And
that's what you have to do, man. When it comes to people, especially vets like that, who take time to watch your match.
Yeah.
Like that's a huge fucking honor, especially if they've been on TV. Whether even if there's some name you've never heard of, but like people are like, this guy's the fucking shit.
Yep.
Or even if you've never met them before and they still took time to watch your match.
Absolutely.
Not a lot of people do that. It's just what's the saying? I believe Owen Travers made this famous, or at least he told it. He passed it on to me. Mouth closed, ears open.
Always.
You can always learn from someone else's opinion, because we all know professional wrestling is a form of art, and art is subjective. So everyone can be like, well, I feel you prefer that could look better if you did it like this.
Yep.
Or maybe I've been taught that you want to accomplish this, do this.
Yes.
That, that. But I'm honestly really jealous of the fact that you got to be on a show, that drew 500 people with people like that on the card. That's something I would be so honored to be a part of.
Well, I took the advice of our mutual acquaintance, Brutal Bob Evans.
Heyo.
I asked for the business.
Heyo. Okay.
I contacted the promoter and the founder of DeFi. I said, this is what I can contribute.
Yep.
If you want me, this is, I'd be thrilled and privileged and honored to be a part of it.
Yeah.
But this is what I can contribute.
Yeah.
Right. Not this is what I want from you.
Yeah.
But this is what I can give. This is what I can offer you.
Yeah. That's a really interesting thing you brought up. I do recall him saying that at the seminar, especially as well as how you should reach out to promoters. but that applies to theater because I had that audition this week that I talked about earlier on the podcast. Again, not trying to make things about me, just trying to apply things to what we're talking about here. What you can do for them. It's not about what do you want. Okay, we all know, you audition for something, you try out, you hit someone up. Obviously, I'd love to get that lead role in the play.
Yeah.
I'd love to, come out opening night and be the lead role, entertain all these people. But when it comes to auditioning or reaching out to people, they know you can wrestle. They probably already know that. Okay, but I mean, every other fucking guy who's lined up out the door can wrestle too. What can you give me? What can you do to help?
Exactly.
And so that's I feel like that's a very helpful way to look to have a way to look on the business, especially when you're trying to get work.
Yeah. And it is work. It's a job interview.
Yeah, it's a job interview.
If you sit down for a job interview, you don't open with what you want from them.
Yeah.
You open with what you can bring to the business.
Yeah. What you can do.
It shouldn't be any different if you're treating wrestling like a business.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because just the fact that you're sitting down for the interview, just the fact that you're talking to the director or the casting agent, it should be implicit that you want something.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So then then you have to meet halfway.
Yeah.
This is what I can give you.
Yeah.
In my case, I'm pretty savvy with a Seattle audience.
Yeah.
I'm a strong heel.
Yeah.
I can generate heat.
Yeah.
I can work safe. I can stick to my times.
That'd be good enough for me.
Honestly. Those are those objective, those metrics that they just want to know.
Yeah.
They just want to. I'm just telling. Hey, I'm not a troublemaker. I'll work hard for you.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. That's how it is. Thank you very much for sharing that. That was very awesome. So yes, next segment is story time. That's right. We have a little cup of suggestions here from certain elements of life that usually bring out a certain story. So you're going to pick 2 slips, and you're going to read them out to the listeners, and then you can either choose one you'd like to do, or if you'd like, you can do both.
All right. All right. The first one is the worst match you've had in wrestling. Name of opponent not needed. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
The craziest thing you've done in a match.
Yeah. Because we know that wrestling can drive us to do some pretty stupid stuff. So again, you can either just choose one or you can do both.
All right. I'm going to do the second one, the craziest thing I've done in a match.
Sounds good.
So I was working with, actually, I mentioned his name already. Right now he wrestles as Eddie Van Glam.
Yep.
Before that, he was wrestling when he was still training. He wrestled in a generic black mask. We called him Mascara Generico.
Okay.
Okay. It was a basic jobber character that we would put on trainees.
Yeah.
So that you can get comfortable without having to be too expressive.
Yeah.
Sorry. The craziest thing I've done in a match, because it's not the worst match.
Yeah. It's all right.
All right. And this is hand number. Sorry, where was I? So he used to, he's now known as Eddie Van Glam.
Yep.
But this was back in 2008.
Yeah.
2009. He was wrestling as Mascara Generico, and I had taken some time off for just rehabbing injuries and just to get a little time to myself. I came back to what was at the time SSP Wrestling because I wanted to work with him.
Yeah.
He was one of the newer guys that I was really excited to watch his work just as he was coming up. So I'm like, well, I want to come back and feud with him. We have a show at this venue called King Cobra in Capitol Hill neighborhood of Seattle. It's not there anymore, but we built our way up to a dog collar match over about 2 months of bi-weekly feuding, and it ended up at right around Halloween for a show at the time we were calling Bloodsport. So to get back to the craziest thing I've done in a match, if anyone's unfamiliar with a dog collar match, just search it in the search bar of YouTube. Open it in a new tab so you don't have to restart this podcast or restart it for the view count.
Yeah, that'd be good. No, I appreciate it. Can't hate that.
Yeah, it's 2 opponents connected. They're both wearing a collar, and in our case, we're connected with 20 feet of steel chain.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's how that goes.
Yeah, it's a lot of tug of war. It's a lot of wrapping the fist and punching. In the match that we had, we were pulling everything out of our bag of tricks. We pulled out a ladder, so we brought the ladder into play. I was just whipping him into that ladder back first.
Oh boy.
Reeling him back in. Oh, so he's getting drugged by his neck.
Yeah.
Back to me, pick him up, whip him back in. Twice I did that, right?
Okay.
But in wrestling, everything is in threes.
Oh yeah.
On the third one, he reversed it on me, and we'd actually practiced this in the weeks leading up to it.
Yeah.
And just to make sure we could hit this this little Irish whip reversal without tripping over our chain.
Yeah.
And ending up hurting ourselves
That would be catastrophic.
in an unplanned way.
Yeah.
So it was the plan was, reverse the Irish whip, drop hold me. I take a smack on the ladder and roll back out.
Okay.
So we did it a million times at practice. It went great. On the night of the show, we're doing our thing. I whip him once. He sells it. Reel him back. Whip him again. He sells it. I whip him. I reel him back. Picks me up. Goes to reverse me. During practice, I was coming down and just kind of slapping the ladder with my hands as I roll off to the side, right?
Yeah.
But this was show night.
Oh.
So my hands were about 18 inches away from my head on either side, just to make everything look bigger. What that ended up meaning was that I ended up going face first into like the cut aluminum step of this painter's ladder.
Oh boy.
And I gashed the top of my head open.
Oh boy.
And I nicked my, it's called frontal vein.
Yeah.
It like runs down this way. So I hit, I feel that sting, and I start to move around, and as soon as I start moving around, the blood just starts matching my pulse as it's running down my face. So it's bump, 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 like rivulets down my face and into my gear. And so the short answer to your question is, we had about 12 more minutes of match planned after that.
Yeah.
The craziest thing I've ever done in a match is do 5 of those minutes with that injury.
Oh, okay.
And ignoring medical attention, like ignoring the ref. It was crazy and unprofessional of me to have done that, to say, no, we gotta blow this feud off, man. Which we did, and I think I won that one, and then he beat me later. So I don't even think that was the blow off of the match.
But I definitely I think I can speak to the fans and I'd say they got their money's worth for the blood sport.
That they did. Yeah, and the name was not ironic that night. That was also a really expensive match.
Oh yeah.
The ER bill was like $1,500.
Oh Jesus!
I had to get 16 stitches.
Oh man.
So.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Wow, that's something else. But yeah, that's. Do you think before we get to our next segment or question, you can walk us through? You said you have 12 minutes left. Obviously, under those conditions, sometimes you have to cut things short. You got to edit things out, whatever you need to. Especially if you're losing that much blood, and it's getting to where you can't operate safely. That's when things become very dangerous and unprofessional.
Yep.
That's in my case. If I feel like if I was in your position, and oh shit, I have this huge gash on my head now. I'm bleeding everywhere. But I feel like I would know when I'm healthy to keep going, But if it was like, I know for a fact if I keep going, I'm not just only going to hurt myself, I'm going to hurt the guy I'm with, which is basically 10 times worse.
Yeah.
In a sense, that's when you have to draw the line. So walk us through where did you draw the lines at that 5-minute mark? What did it take for you?
The main thing that we both decided on the fly to kind of remove from that match, was like 6 or 7 minutes of me just soundly beating the crap out of him.
Okay.
Storyline wise, that makes sense because I was very badly injured and maybe was not in the best position to do a whole lot of beating and punishing of my opponent. Yeah. He was the babyface, I was the heel still.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of I don't know how smart your audience is to the business, but I basically just cut out all the heat.
Okay.
And we did our high spots. I remember getting power bombed off the ladder. I remember bulldogging him off the ladder. I remember giving him like a fisherman suplex to beat him.
Okay.
Like I snuck it in on him.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we just we both were looking at each other and realizing like we we got to wrap it up.
Yeah.
So we basically cut everything out and just said, let's go home now.
Yeah.
And our go home just happened to have 3 high spots in it.
All right. Yeah, that's works for me.
But at least I didn't forget that part.
Yeah.
Or have to listen to take his take his guidance to keep me safe throughout.
Yeah.
We could go into a relatively choreographed sequence that we could hit safely.
Yeah.
And a power bomb off the ladder, you can still hit that safely, even though it sucks.
Yeah, it
Right.
does. I know what that's all about.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one last segment before we get to the golden question we have on the podcast. This is a new segment for my listeners, and also you're going to be the first one to ever do it.
Awesome.
Because it is this is somewhat of a wrestling related podcast, or I try to make it when I can.
Yes.
I have a variety of guests on here that I feel like this podcast is more about the art that the artists bring, and I feel like professional wrestlers are some of the most neglected forms of artists in the world, because some people don't realize just how much of a lost art professional wrestling can be at sometimes, and how talented some people truly are. So this segment is called Podcast Promo, where we have a series of celebrities, wrestlers, and personalities in another cup that you will choose from. You can we're gonna have you go and choose just one, and the one you choose, you are going to cut an improvised promo on them. Okay. So go ahead and take your pick.
Every member of the Bullet Club at one time.
Are you familiar with the Bullet Club?
Yeah.
All right. Also, if you don't feel comfortable doing it, you don't have to.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I just cut a promo on them.
Yep. You got. I'm gonna give you 2 minutes. I think that should be enough. Yeah, and let's see. So yeah, I'm gonna give you 2 minutes for this. And I will let you know. I'll give you the go home signal.
Okay.
All right. Yeah. So. All right. So this is podcast promo. This is Mr. Fitness cutting a promo on every single member of the Bullet Club at one time. All right, Here we go. And whenever you're ready.
So when I look into your myriad pairs of eyes and faces, because there's so many of you, every member of the Bullet Club at one time, I just have to ask myself, how in touch are you with the sport that you supposedly represent and bring pride to? Do you understand what it's like to struggle to sell merch? Do you have any idea what it's like to not have your shirts fly off the shelf? I don't think you do. I think you're living in rarefied air, every member of the Bullet Club at one time. And if you didn't outweigh me by several thousand pounds, because there's like 20 of them, I would challenge you to a gentleman's duel. And let me tell you another thing. Every member of the Bullet Club at one time. How come I never seen you in one room at the same time? How come you're never in one place? How come you have to span countries? How come you've got to be everywhere? That's greedy. And I think it's selfish. And I think that every member of the Bullet Club at one time is capable of better than that.
All right, just take it home.
Yeah, okay. So when I see you on Sunday, every member of the Bullet Club at one time, for the big match at the city center, we'll be looking across the ring, and I'm going to be asking myself one question. How'd you all fit in this ring at one time? Because there's so many of you. And how did I get myself into this mess? That's all I got.
That was good. That was good. Yeah, I liked how you did that planned word. I when I wrote that, I was like, I really hope when he does it, he actually every time he mentions, like, he references the Bullet Club, he actually tries to list every single member. Like, I swear I'm gonna get you, Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, Doc Gallows, Bad Luck Fale, Chase Owens, the Tama Tonga, the Adam Page,
Cody Rhodes,
Cody Rhodes, or just Cody. Like, he just tries to list all of them. That'd be hilarious. But that was Very good first attempt.
Thank you very
I gotta
much.
applaud you on that. So that is the end of the segments we have for our shows. We did a few of them. Very fun and yeah, very fun and interesting answers from Mr. Fitness, I guess. But all good things must come to an end. It is time for the golden question of the podcast. It's the question I ask every guest on the podcast relating to their choice of profession, which would be professional wrestling. The question is, what has been the best day on the job and what has been the worst day on the job? Or I'll also word it as what has been a really, really good day and what's been a really, really bad day. So it can be like a good day is just like, it can be just a day where you felt really glad to be a wrestler, or like it was a day where like you had a really, really awesome match and you're just like, man, I'm so fucking glad to be a wrestler. And then a bad day could be a day where you were exposed to the not so great side of the business, or just a day where it was just really depressing, things didn't go well. However you see a bad day.
Okay, so worst day on the job in recent memory, because there have been several. It was only maybe 2 months ago, and I was getting ready to work a show called Combat Pro Wrestling.
Okay.
And they run out of Port Orchard, Washington. It's in like southwest of Seattle.
Yeah.
But they were running their first Seattle show that night, so I was on the card for that. I was the and more on that flyer.
Oh, okay.
So I was I wasn't a headline or a featured matchup.
Yeah.
I'm not overly proud. I know where my strengths are. I don't need to have marquee. I don't have to have my name and face on posters and stuff. It just happened to have been. I had a bad day at work anyway.
Yeah.
It was one of those days of work you feel like any control you may have had over your situation is kind of being compromised or taken away from you. I just felt sort of out of the loop, kind of powerless. I felt fangless, right? Also leading up to that, I'd lost a booking I was looking forward to, and I hadn't heard back on a couple others that I was running it was still the fall, so it was still those end of summer events. It was still pretty strong weekend bookings.
Yeah.
It was just looking like it was going to be a dud.
Yeah.
And through no fault of anybody's, it was just how the chips were falling. I get to the show not knowing what my booking is, and this is the twist where the worst day on the job and the best day on the job are the same day.
Okay. Interesting.
So I get there, and I'd heard like two or three different ideas on what I was going to be doing at that show.
Yeah.
One was going to be like a run-in on another match. One was I was going to be in a tag team that was just kind of a cobbled tag, like just kind of thrown together tag team.
Makeshift tag team.
Yeah, just to get everyone's spots in, get everyone's shit in, right?
Yeah.
But I get there, and the head of our ring crew, his name is Hero.
Okay.
And I hope he listens to this. Hi, Hero, I love you. He was working ring crew for that show, and he got the booking.
Oh, yeah.
So the promoter came and asked me, hey, can you work 3 to 5 minutes with Hero? Right, you're over. It was his first match without a mask.
Okay.
And I've been training with him for about a year now, and he's easily the hardest working guy at 3-2-1 Battle. He's the first one there to prep the ring and to lay out chairs. He's always the last one to go.
He's the guy's paying the due.
He's the heart and soul of our crew.
Yeah.
And to be given that honor of being able to work with him, just it flipped my day 180 degrees instantly. And all of a sudden, I was on the verge of tears just for how grateful I was for that opportunity. And for his part, Hero did an amazing job. We just chatted in the back. I'm like, all right, give me your 3 best moves, and we'll build around that.
That's how it goes.
And it went awesome. I think we were like right after intermission, so we had a really fortunate spot on the card. So we didn't have a lot of high. People weren't fatigued from like a bunch of stuff right up until that. It was good timing. It was good placement. We had good chemistry for the time that we had allotted, and it was one of those nights where I was hugging and cheek kissing everyone on my way out and thanking them for being a part of that show.
Yeah.
Even though it wasn't my show, I was just I was and more.
Yeah.
Right when I got there.
And more.
But it just went to show how just a couple simple things can flip your day.
Yeah.
From the worst to the best.
That's a really cool story. Yeah. Well, we have come to the end of the podcast essentially. Before we do our goodbye little spiel here, it's time to do what all wrestlers love to do, and that's plug the shows they're going to be on. For Mr. Fitness here, if you're in the Washington area, or maybe you'd like to take a flight over there to show your outpouring support for him, why not? 321 Battle has its next show January 27th. That's in Seattle, Washington. Just go to the 321 Battle Facebook page for more information. The next show here in Vegas that you can actually the next wrestling show, and also the next show I will be attending will be Future Stars of Wrestling's New Year Resolutions. That is being held at the Silverton Casino, January 28th. That is a Sunday, I believe. I want to say Sunday, maybe Saturday. No, it's a Yeah, it is a Saturday. I'll be announcing once again, as I usually do. And then the next Big Valley Wrestling show, where I will be wrestling. Once again, I'll be defending my BVW Fighting Championship. Is going to be February 11th. 4 p.m. start time, so make sure you mark your calendars for those dates. So with that, this is the end of the podcast. Mr. Fitness, or Taylor, I'd like to address you as. This has been an absolutely pleasure to be able to sit with you and share stories with you and get to know you better, and I really appreciate that you took time out of your vacation here in Las Vegas to sit down with me and talk about this stupid business called pro wrestling. Thank you very, very much.
It's a big, dumb business, but I wouldn't have it any other way, and thank you so much for having me on. And will you show me out? Because I might get lost.
I'm probably going to be right there with you, but either way, no matter where we're going, man, we're always going to be on top, because, I mean, I'm rich, and you're kind of up there with me, so.
Hey, I like that.
Yeah, have you seen the petting zoo? I got a petting zoo.
Well, you show me that after this, okay?
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, petting zoos, Starbucks, and cool podcast. And that's Tenacious.